Welcome this evening to our 1946 London lecture. This is lecture 28 given by Montessori on the 29th of November 1946 when her and her son travelled to London. The lecture itself is called Religious Education, and it says in here, I do not want to go into the subject of teaching religion and the special material you can use for this purpose, because I've written books on the subject and you can read them. Instead, I want to focus now on the fundamentals of religion. So this, I think it's really important to be inclusive. And so we're not teaching as a subject because there are so many different beliefs in the world. And so we need to accept that everybody has different beliefs and they're all to be respected. So this is Montessori's views, the notes I've taken from her lecture, but I've also mixed in some of my thoughts and how I've supported these things over the year. So then, today's topic, religious education, as discussed by Maria Montessori in her book. But it's important to begin by saying that these are Montessori views, and they're developed within her educational philosophy, and they really reflect a deep concern for moral and spiritual growth of the child. They don't insist on any one religious doctrine at all. She's not saying that. In fact, her approach can be appreciated by all faiths, all beliefs, and those who live by their own beliefs as well. So ethical, humanist beliefs, whatever your principles are, Montessori is welcoming to everybody. She's not talking about one formal religion here. So I have made notes on this because it's important to stick to what Montessori says and not my own beliefs. So Montessori believed that religion, or what we might call spiritual awareness, is something that lives naturally in the human being, especially within the child. She didn't see it as something given to the children from outside, but a sentiment to be nurtured and allowed to grow from within the child. So she says, just as plants need soil and air and water and light, the children's inner life needs an environment that also encourages those things, the awe and gratitude. And so children develop wonderful belief system from the way we are around them. And for her, it was the environment around the child and the environment the child lived in was the most powerful part of this, far more important than verbal instruction. So thinking about the absorbent mind stage then and early impressions on the child, between birth and 6 years of age, we know that children live in what Montessori called this absorbent mind phase. So in this period then, they're absorbing everything around them, everything in their surroundings, the tone of voices, the way adults behave, and the atmosphere, whether that's peace or whether it's tension. So if it's at home or at school, if it's filled with kindness, respect, moments when we're still with the children, we reflect on what we're doing, the children will absorb that atmosphere that we're in, and they will then naturally grow up and they will absorb this just like they do their language. They take in how we're living, how we're behaving around them. And Montessori noticed that children who grew up in families that had a sense of gratitude, whether they expressed that in prayer or through acts or in just quiet reflection, children will then develop those inner feelings, even if they never hear any religious words at all. And Montessori was really clear that it has to be for children an experience, not an instruction. So Montessori believed that religious feeling can't be taught through facts or memorised prayers, but it grows in the child through experience they have, through seeing and feeling love, generosity and wonder in everyday life. And she often said that the adult has to be authentic. So if she talks about goodness and truth, but the person acts dishonestly, then the child is going to get a contradiction in what they're seeing, what they're being told happens, and actually what they see happening. Because children live what they feel, and they feel what they live, and they sense the words and the actions. And if they don't match, it causes them confusion. And Montessori actually gave a really nice example in the book, and I have written a summary of it here. She gave a really great example of a lady who told her children that only poor people lied, not the rich. And later the child overheard the same woman on the telephone lying and telling somebody that, oh no, I'm really sorry, we can't come round because, and giving a fake reason. And the child then was noticeably shocked. And to Montessori, that really revealed how seriously children take what we tell them. So we want them to trust us completely. So in that case, we have to behave with trust and not model lying ourselves. We're contradicting what we're teaching our children as values. So we have to really have a good understanding of this moral security. So we have to be saying and doing what we tell the children. So if we say we don't lie, then we can't the next day model telling lies or fibs in front of the children, because they will catch us out. And when I was teaching, I really understood how much the children took what we said to heart. And I remember this wasn't a religious conversation I had with the children, but it was really hot in the summer, and I remember saying to the children, when you come to nursery, it's really important to wear lightweight cotton clothing that allows your skin to breathe and it covers you up. It's much better for you than keep having sun cream put on. And if we wear white clothes, they reflect the heat, and if we wear dark clothes, they will attract the heat and you'll feel even hotter. And I thought it was just a simple little talk I'd given to the children, but I wanted to get the message through to them, because I knew what I said to the children was quite powerful. And it's easy to sit and give the children a message rather than trying to talk to, 30 different sets of families, or send home newsletters that half the people don't read. And the next day the children were coming in, and they all had their light coloured loose clothing, and they were all covered up as well. And then a couple of the mums said to me, Sandra, it's caused real chaos this morning. Our children insisted on wearing white clothes to nursery. They insisted that they need to have light clothing and their arms and legs covered up, because Miss Sandra said it's the best way to keep safe. And so that really taught me the strength and the power behind what we say to children. We need to always tell them things that are correct, because they do live by it. So the children always came in then dressed safely for the summer. So the message was wonderful, but for me it was a really powerful moment of realising that what I said to the children, they absolutely took as the truth. So we have ourselves in a position where we have to be careful what we say, and if we're saying we don't tell lies, then we don't tell lies. So thinking about our nursery environments further, in nurseries, I think quite often we fall short of what we need to do. So we're teaching sometimes the children about other beliefs, other religions, other cultures, and we have to be really careful then that actually it's more than just entertainment and giving them nice food, because that's not the essentials of some of the things in life. So Montessori used the example at Christmas to illustrate her ideas here. And she described this little child who was really enchanted, but not by the presents, not by the decorations, but by the quiet joy of everybody walking to church in the snow, carrying their lanterns, and everybody being together and going somewhere as a group to sing and to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And sometimes we get carried away, don't we, with putting up the Christmas tree, having the decorations, having this elaborate meal, celebrating something that actually, what are we saying to the children? Do they actually understand what this celebration is about? So when we look at other people's festivals as well, Montessori looked at them and she found that there were festivals, there was celebrations of music, of light, of movement, and all of these are the things that really nourish the child's spirit. But we have to retain the meaning of what it is we're teaching to the children. So if a celebration comes just about entertainment, possessions, food, then we're not actually supporting the children to learn properly about these occasions within the world. So it's really important that if we plan things for nursery or for our groups, that we actually look into what it is, the messages we're giving to our children, so they don't think that every celebration in the world is just about receiving gifts and eating really nice food, because it's much, much deeper than that. So having a respect and an understanding for other people's festivals, for the music they may celebrate with, for particular movements, for way people dress, for the decorations we may put on our bodies, all of those wonderful things are really important when we think about, our cultures, our religions, and what it is we're sharing with the children and educating them about, so they have a good understanding. So Montessori also really cautioned against confusing religious sentiment with amusement. Children need beauty and truth, she says, not only excitement. She also talks in this lecture about truthfulness and sincerity, and it's a really reoccurring theme in this lecture. So Montessori insisted that children shouldn't be misled in the name of religion or morality. If we tell them things that are not true, she says, even with good intentions, we risk damaging both the trust in both us as adults and the moral ideas themselves that we're trying to teach them. So she believed that sincerity is essential, whether we're religious or not. children's faith, their confidence in actually goodness, it depends on the honesty of the adults around them, whether we're the parents, the grandparents, wider family, teachers. It's really important to have this honesty about what we're teaching and what we're sharing, what we're modelling with the children, with the way we are ourselves. So she also spoke in here about morality and religion, and she warned against confusing moral instruction and religious education. And she says, telling a child simply to be good or using moral stories too early can really reduce truths to just shallow commands to children. And she gave an example of a woman who told her children the story of Cain and Abel, which is a tale of jealousy and murder. And Montessori felt that for young children it was just too abstract, it was too heavy and too much for their young minds to cope with. And she said, first of all, our young children, the children we're dealing with in this absorbent mind phase, they need to experience kindness and cooperation and love in real life before they can understand moral lessons from a story, especially for things that are beyond their understanding. So true moral and spiritual growth, she said, arises from love and understanding, not from fear or punishment. And when I reflect again on my own teaching, Montessori had concerns about age appropriateness of religious teaching. And this really reminded me of this. And it wasn't that long after I had qualified as a Montessori teacher either. I had a child who reached the age of 4. And so he went to a school nursery in the morning and came to our nursery in the afternoon, which was Montessori. And one day he arrived, and I noticed that he was really distressed and really upset. And he came up to me and he just wanted some quiet time with me and he wanted a hug. And I didn't know where the conversation was going to go and I didn't know what his concerns were, but I knew something had really, really upset him and disturbed him. And he told me that at school that morning he had learnt about how Jesus had been nailed to the cross and left to die. And it really, really disturbed him. For a young mind, it was more than he could understand. And that stayed with me, the whole of my teaching life, of how upset and distressed that child was. And that's not the way that we need to teach them anything, especially about religion. So, there was too much vivid imagination there for him. And how could he possibly cope with those things? And that wasn't compassion, and there was no understanding from him, just fear and sadness that a child had been brought up with such wonderful beliefs would be told something so horrendous and outside of his comprehension. So I don't think that Montessori would have approved of approach like that just because it wasn't something the child could cope with. He was so young to be told something so graphically awful. Sacrifice and death and things like that, however sacred they might be, they need to come at a later stage in the child's education when they can understand and grasp those things rather than just being confused and being made to be fearful of their religion. So it'd be interesting to know if anyone else has ever had any experiences like that through their teaching as well, because it's quite difficult, and it wasn't something I was actually prepared to deal with because I didn't ever expect a 4-year-old to come in and tell me that. So apart from, reassuring him that he was safe, I couldn't contradict and say what the teacher had said was wrong, but to make him feel safe at nursery and with me was all that I could do. And obviously to speak to his parents too. So thinking about being inclusive and the wider meaning of that. So Montessori herself spoke in Christian terms, and her insights are based on that as well. But everything can be applied to all faiths and to secular life as well. Montessori is inclusive in its approach. We talk about peace on earth, and we can only have peace if we all are in acceptance of each other's beliefs and each other's ways that we celebrate. And, I've had some wonderful staff work with me who've taught me all about different gods and goddesses and their religious things and what they do. And it's been absolutely incredible to learn how different people conduct their lives, how their children are brought up in those beliefs as well. And it is really wonderful and a privilege to hear from people, how they actually conduct their own lives and what their beliefs are and how they live by them. Because, some people have religious beliefs, other people don't. It's really important to embrace all, but also important to educate yourself about these beliefs as well, so that when you are asked, or if the children do come to school and that's their religious belief, you can understand where it's coming from. So just to also clarify the word secular, because I've had several people say to me, but I don't know what it means. The word secular just simply means it's not connected with religion. So a secular person or approach, they're not against religion necessarily. It's just neutral, it's inclusive, it's respecting of all faiths and respectful of those people who don't have a religious faith either. So Montessori's religious education, then, it can be understood as a development of the inner life when we've got our younger children. It's about having a sense of wonder at the world, to be grateful for what we have, to whoever you are grateful to. And also to have compassion for others. So when we look at the UK teaching, the government put out a document called British Values. I actually think it should have just been called Human Values, because they're not unique to people in Britain. I think it's a badly named document. And it is about respect for other people, about mutual tolerance and respect and understanding, which is very similar to what Montessori taught us years ago. You know, we all need a sense of wonder in the world, wherever we believe that things came from. We all need to be grateful for what we have around us, regardless of who we think has put those things there. We all need to have compassion for others and understanding for others, because that's what's going to make it a peaceful world. And we all need to respect truth as well, and consistency in what we do, and to have an awareness that we belong to something greater than ourselves, whether that's something you define as God or your God or nature or humanity or the universe. Just to be aware that there is something bigger than ourselves is a big thing and a big relief, isn't it? So today we do have a really diverse world. It's always been diverse, but we're more aware of it. People have travelled around the world, haven't they? And we're more aware of other people's beliefs, other people's customs, other people's food, other people's ways of life. And it's wonderful to have such a rich influence and to be able to see. And there's still going to be things that we've never heard of, and that we'll die and not know everything that's in the world, you know. So it's just amazing to me, especially through having lots of different children through my years in nursery and different families, the amount that I did learn about cultures, beliefs, festivals. It's just incredible what's out there and so interesting. So then, Montessori, a lovely inclusive method of education. It's why you don't necessarily hear me talk about any particular beliefs, because I want everyone to feel welcome, and I don't force or put my beliefs on anybody else. So I don't necessarily share my beliefs either, because I want people to be able to come to me and talk about their own. I want us all to be respectful of each other, whatever those beliefs are, as long as we're all kind and inclusive and compassionate and understanding, forgiving, truthful. You know, to me, that's all that matters in the world, is that we can do those things for each other. And Montessori had some final cautions as well. So a plea for gentleness, authenticity, not to treat religion as a list of rules or another school subject to be taught and memorised, because that's not it. It's about living it, living what we do. Open the child up to the spirit of truth, of goodness, of beauty, in whatever form they are, and however those values take it in your cultural belief system. That's what we are going to bring to our children. And Montessori reminds us that children are naturally receptive to greatness, to wonderful things. So if we're sincere with them, if we love them sincerely, if we're consistent in what we do, we're truthful with them, our children will find their own path, they'll make their own beliefs, and they'll be happy adults in the future. And you know, we still need this planet to be a peaceful place, and while people fight over their differences and fight over their greed, those sorts of things never happen, do they? So we can only hope by educating our children to be more understanding, to be more empathetic, to be more respectful, that they will have a more peaceful life than we've had in our current times. So that was our lecture for this evening, Montessori's religious education. So I found that quite interesting to read, and I actually found it quite difficult to present as well, because I am aware that we're all different and we all have different beliefs, and I very much didn't want to upset anybody. So hopefully that lecture made sense to all of you. So thank you for listening. So I have a few other things I want to show you this evening, because In the UK, we're just coming to the end of what we call car boot season. So from spring right through the summer to early autumn, people will fill their car up with all the things that are surplus in their house, all their latest junk, and they'll take it to a field and people come and they buy things. So getting towards the end of the car boot season now, because it's so cold and dark and wet and nobody wants to stand and sell their belongings in the rain, I wanted to share with you a few little treasures that I've come across for my cultural baskets, because people keep saying to me, where do you get all those lovely things from? And it's a lifetime collection that you keep adding to. You don't go to a shop and buy all of those wonderful things for your cultural baskets in one place. So what did I find today? So first of all, in a box of junk, I found this little matchbox. Well, I thought it was a matchbox. But I looked at it and I thought, oh, funny matches, they have a hippo on the front. And I started reading the back and realised that in this little box is this most beautiful little puzzle of a hippo. So that's going to make its way into my continent box, because I think that is absolutely beautiful. And on the back of it, we also have an explanation about the hippo. So that's going to make it into my continent box. I was really delighted with this little purchase. I also found this, which is on like slate. It's an image on slate. And I love this because this reminds me of the Roman Arch, but actually this is an aqueduct in Wales. So, you know, a good 1,000 years or so after the Romans built their arches. But the reason I love this is it shows children how things develop over time. So the Romans built their arches in stone, and then as humans develop, you know, that lovely imagination, how can we do things, how can we improve things, how can we make things better, until we've got this here. So we've built our viaduct here with our stone, but also with metal. And this is how humans have taken ideas from the past, improved them, built on them, and then come up with something new. So I think this was built in about, I think it was 1805 or something. So it is very old, but obviously not as old as the Romans. So I think that's a wonderful addition as well that I'm going to add. I haven't decided yet whether to put it somewhere near my Roman arch, just so it has some, you know, interest, or whether it goes on my piece table as something to talk about, or in the continent box. So but I thought that was a lovely picture for them, and it's lovely to handle, much nicer than a paper picture. I found a little flag of the United States of America, so I'm going to put that in my box as well. And then I also found this beautiful book of the, I could say this properly, the Ngorongoro. God, pronounce it, it's so difficult. I'm not going to say it again. And it's full of beautiful, it's in Tanzania, it's full of beautiful animal pictures. So this is going to be added to my Africa basket, because I think that's an absolutely beautiful book. So they were my treasure finds for today, which cost literally just pennies. Next week then we are on lecture 29, which is going to be moral education. So we only have about 4 Sundays left of this book, and then I'm going to start working through another book with you. So if there's a book that you don't have that you'd really like me to work through, I can take a paragraph or a chapter of each book, rewrite it. I just can't read straight to the from the text to you unless it's a really old book. They're covered by copyright. But if there's a particular book you'd like me to go through, I can go through it a chapter at a time, summarise it for you, and do it during our Sunday lectures. So that's going to be from about mid-November. We're going to need a new book to study. So I'm more than happy for you to make suggestions if you'd like to. If not, I will pick a book and go through it with you. So there we go. So thank you for joining me on this Sunday. Have a wonderful week with those children. Have lots of fun. Remember, they're only little once. And I will see you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.